Well, it is the first glimpse of university applications since tuition fees soared threefold, and the number of British applicants has slumped by 9%. The figures show just a slight fall in the number of 18-year-olds and a sharper drop amongst candidates from wealthier backgrounds compared to those on low incomes. So have fears over the rising cost of university put any of this year's prospective students off? Our social affairs editor Jackie Long has this report.
They took to the streets by the tens of thousands, marching on Parliament, their anger palpable. The demonstrations against tuition fees were some of the biggest student protests the country had seen in decades. Today, many of the students who marched are preparing for a different journey, into higher education and a university place. The fees they'll pay for the privilege, now just a fact of life.
We went on the protest and we thought, I suppose the end result is we're thinking that even though it's not something we're happy with, it's something that we maybe have to do. And I think a lot of other people will have had the same reaction as that.
Even though the fees are really expensive, compared to like America and places like that, it's still kind of cheap. So at the end of the day, as long as you get a job out of it and you start paying it back, I think it's a good choice, it's a good option. So that's why I applied.
Do you think that a lot of students have now accepted the fees are a reality?
Yeah, I mean, there were the student riots and there was everything happened, but nothing changed. And we just got to like it or lump it, really. There's nothing we can do about it, so you go or you don't.
The way I see it, it's either that or unemployment. And because there's such a vast rate of unemployment in our society, I feel like I have to go to university to succeed.
And clearly many others felt the same. Although the figures show a drop in applications, it's not as large as had been feared. According to UCAS, university applications from UK students are down by just under 9%. The biggest fall is in English applications. They're down 9.9%. In Scotland, where students will not be paying tuition fees, the fall was just 1.5%. Breaking down the figures further shows that it's mature students who seem to have been most put off, a decline in applications of 11%. But today, the government took the figures as a sign of success, arguing that if you included demographic changes, the proportion of English school leavers applying to university is still almost at record levels.
Actually, young people are still applying for university. That's why there's barely been a fall from last year. And in fact, amongst the crucial group of people from the most disadvantaged backgrounds, the fall is even less. 0.2% is our estimate. So it looks as if young people are not being put off by the fees, and that's because they understand they don't have to pay them up front.
There has been a drop of between 7 and 8%. It's just affected different type of students differently. We always thought it would. You look at mature students, we've seen a demonstrable decrease. You look at students choosing to study in other parts of the UK, very different story being told because of different policies. What we need over the next few months is to find out what type of student, what their financial background is and what type of institutions they're applying to. Then we'll get a feel for the actual story here.
For secondary schools like Hampstead, getting pupils into university is an important measure of their success. Last year, 87% of the students here went on to higher education. And fees or no fees, the school wants that figure to rise.
It's not just the government which has been working hard to try to take the fear out of the idea of tuition fees. Here at this school, they've been running seminars to talk to pupils about how they'll manage to pay back the cash and insisting that they shouldn't let it put them off the idea of going to university. Many pupils have made the rather simpler calculation that 3 more years in education is better than facing the very real prospect of starting adult life on the dole.
Jackie Long, and later in the programme, Krishna will be speaking to a Vice-Chancellor and a sixth form student who's not very sure it's worth going to college.